Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Representation seems to be coming before story in video games nowadays, and I'm not sure what to say about it, but I'm pretty sure I can come up with a few lines. Anyway, this lovely little article from Kotaku, the bastion of journalistic integrity, the gaming website that Flash ratioed the hell out of. I can't wait till your site goes bankrupt, and I have to agree because we get articles like this. New report suggests the games industry is failing LGBTQ players. Advocacy group. How's everybody doing? I just started the video and I can't talk. GLAAD has run the numbers. Heaven forbid there's no chance in hell that they're biased whatsoever. Before I get into the article, I have been gaming for 42 years, and you know what the last thing I've ever given a rat's ass about? And that is any sort of representation. I need someone to look like me. When I was 12 years old playing Metroid and Super Mario Brothers, the last thing that I was interested in is a prepubescent chubby kid wearing boxer shorts and a white t-shirt playing video games. I didn't want that kind of representation. And now, even today, honestly, the closest thing that I look for as far as representation goes is clothing options for the male characters. And that would be, shocker, this might come as a surprise, a kilt, an actual kilt, whether it's a modern kilt, I don't care if it looks like a skirt or whatever, a nice tartan plaid kilt for the male characters. But no, most of what you get, like in the atrocity that I've been playing the past 2 days, Saints Row, are actual dresses for women. And just, how about some of that? Which is really kind of odd because most of the time I play female characters. Yes, I decided to play a male character in Saints Row because, hey, got to change things up a little bit, but I digress. Representation has never, ever been at the forefront on when and how and why I get video games. And this may come as a shock. I'm pretty sure that most gamers don't care about that either. They're looking for the power fantasy. Even, and this may come as a true shock, even the LGBTQ plus whatever, the alphabet community, how much representation are they legitimately looking for? Or are the ones that actual game, the ones that go out of their way to play the video games, are they looking for the power fantasy, the escapism, something to take them away from the humdrum repetition of day-to-day life? And of course, go back into the video games and the repetition of the daily quest in there. But anyway, how many of them actually, like, legitimately, how much of the buying gamer demographic, gaming buyer demographic, the paying customer in the alphabet community is looking for representation? Or is it just the one that GLAAD caters to in the screeching eels, blue-haired land whales on Twitter, the squeaky wheel that needs to be replaced by now? But let's get into the article and see what kind of evidence they put forth. It's going to be concrete. I've known that representation in games mattered ever since the day in 1987 when I finished Metroid and discovered that intergalactic bounty hunter Samus Aran was that rarest of things for a time. Oh, you're even admitting that it's not rare that a cool female protagonist is happening in a video game. Almost like you're denying what's right in front of your face? Or no, you're confirming what's right in front of your face, even though the article is trying to deny it. I actually looked up the lovely lady that wrote the article, and yes, she appears to be Gen X, old enough to have beaten Metroid in 1987. Yeah, I was right there with you, darling. I was a little bit surprised when I came out. It's like, oh, Samus is wearing a bikini. Cool. And you want to know how much that mattered to the game? Absolutely nothing. It didn't matter whether Samus was male or female. That is superficial nonsense, irrelevant to a game. If Mario all of a sudden had come out and been a female plumber, which, although that would have been odd considering the profession at the time, not a lot of women in the plumbing profession today, I don't think people would have cared. They care about gameplay. They care about mechanics and story and the look and the style and the feel of the game. People care less and less and less about the protagonist and what their checkboxes are versus, just about everything else in the game. It's last on the list. It's being proven over and over again as all these nonsensical ideological games with boring, cringeworthy dialogue. Thank you, Saints Row. Good Jesus Christ. Gameplay first. Ideology last. Anyway, I loved playing as Mario or Link or any intrepid hero, but I was particularly thrilled to see a game say that women can be heroes too. There's nothing in the fucking history. Anyway. Now, with games a more important cultural force than ever, the influential media advocacy organization GLAAD, I'm sure, again, they have no biases whatsoever, has released its first ever in-depth report. Oh boy, in-depth, my fucking white hiney. Report examining how games are doing in terms of LGBTQ representation. The data strongly suggests that, on one hand, games play an important role in the lives of many queer players. Games play... Okay, why are we constantly trying to separate ourselves into nice little boxes, segregating ourselves voluntarily, and not have to worry about any other organization doing it for us? We're doing it voluntarily. Stop it. A gamer is a gamer is a gamer. It doesn't matter who you sleep with. It doesn't matter what you got between your legs. Nobody cares. They care if you're good at the game. That's it. They care if is the game fun? Yes, we're going to play it. If you're in a first-person shooter, in a team, any sort of team environment video game, nobody cares genuinely, unless it's a way to get under your skin. If you're on the other team, then they're going to ridicule you incessantly based on superficial values, superficial nonsense, and skin color, gender, sexuality, or anything. And even if they don't know it, they're going to call you those names anyway. It's the nature of the beast. To sit there and say, oh, data strongly suggests playing many queer players. It's an important role for many queer players. It's an important role for everybody. We all want that escapism. But anyway, particularly queer youth, and on the other, that games are falling far short in terms of adequately representing and reaching those players. Video games will never represent every single demographic equally, percentage-wise, ever, until the end of time, no matter how hard you try, no matter no matter how much you push it. It's not going to happen. Just give up. Just make good games. That's all gamers actually want. Good fucking games. Ha! Report released today is packed with interesting and probably inaccurate important statistics, important based on whose opinions collected in partnership with the media data and analyst firm Nielsen. And you can see its entirety here. Not interested. Let's see. Among GLAAD's most striking findings, if these are indeed accurate, 17% of active gamers identify as being part of the alphabet community. 17%. I'm going to go out on a limb and say those results are skewed because it all depends on how many. First of all, what's the sample size? How many people are you talking to? What part of the country are you talking to? That information matters, far more important than 17%. 17% of active gamers who were questioned on this poll. And yet only a paltry 2% of games on major PC and console storefronts are tagged with having alphabet content, suggesting that games which actually feature queer characters or storylines remain extremely rare. The reason why they remain extremely rare is because gamers don't give a toss about them. Nobody has a problem with them being in the story if they're organic. Saying this all the time. Put whatever stories you want in your games. Put whatever representation you want in your games. But when it feels forced, when it feels inorganic, in your face, on the nose, hitting you over the head with that sledgehammer, your average gamer is going to notice, talk about it, criticize it, and move on. Other people are going to see those criticisms and go, maybe that game's not for me. If you're pushing ideology first, with story and character second, or third, or fourth, then people are not going to be interested in playing those games. And after a while, the game developers are going to, not be interested in making those games because those types of games don't sell. And of course, as long as you keep Sweet Baby Inc. away from your project, then I think you'll do just fine. Games are a refuge for many queer players. Yes, they're a refuge for many players. Take this word out. Stop putting in these qualifiers. Gamers are gamers are gamers. We don't need these little checkboxes. We don't need these qualifiers. Data shows that many people who play games are... What? The data shows that many people who play games are queer. Okay, and that games often play a particularly important role in their lives. Games should only be used to escape, to pass the time, as a, well, for most people, as just a pastime, a hobby, a simple little thing you can do to forget about the world for an hour or two, every day, every other day, and relax. Get you away from the nonsense. To sit there, to play that an important role in anyone's life, you might need to talk to somebody, but I am not a counselor. I am not any sort of professional counselor to talk to anybody. So maybe, yeah. I guess video games could be therapy for some. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there is. You make the decision. According to GLAAD, 55% of alphabet gamers who reside in states where such... Oh, God, now we're talking about legislation. Kotaku, why are you talking about politics? Gamers don't care about politics, and the moment you start bringing politics up in your articles, they just tune the fuck out. So I'm not going there, although politics is downstream from culture. There's no denying that. My goodness, we're getting into anti-LGBT legislation, and then 55% of the gamers who reside in states where the legislation has been approved or passed say they feel more accepted in the gaming community. I'd call bullshit on that. People only shun you from any community if you have a piss poor attitude. They don't care about your checkboxes. My goodness, what sort of article is this? Capitalist argument for better LGBT representation. Now this is something that can be proven, right? Because if certain games sell well, then the developers are going to make more of said games. If you had video games that centered on LGBTQ representation and relationships and storylines, regardless of who the developer is, if those games sold, as well as, maybe not use Pal World, but your average AAA studio game, if they gave those numbers, you would see more of those video games. It's just that simple. It's the Sam Walton mentality. If it sells, get more of it on the shelf. If it doesn't sell, get off of the shelf. It's just that simple. Supply and demand. It's the most basic concept of economics that I don't understand why so many people in the entertainment industry, all these big companies, just don't seem to understand. Isn't just collecting this data because it's interesting. No, of course not. They want to make money. They want to know what makes money. The organization hopes to encourage developers and studios to do more to reflect and represent LGBTQ. I can't say it. I'm sorry. If you want me to fumble over my face over and over again, I'll have LGBTQ players. Can I just say alphabet? I do not mean in a derogatory way. I'm going to continue with alphabet. A common argument I've heard for why games haven't made more effort to incorporate gay or trans characters and storylines is that developers and publishers may be afraid of alienating and driving away non-alphabet players. Why don't you go talk to the developers? Go talk to Warner Brothers and CD Projekt Red, okay? Cyberpunk was sold very well and gained more popularity as the years went by, although the release date was a dumpster fire, no denying that. It had a main side character? I mean, hell, you could make a trans character in the game. Male to female, female to male, whatever. You could make that character in the game, and everyone knew it before the game came out. You had a character in the game. Claire, the bartender. I really hope I got her name right, because if I don't, I'm going to look really foolish because I love the game. Male to female trans character. Guess what? No part of the game beats you over the head with it, with her past, and the only reason you find out about it is if you go through her storyline, her quest line, read some of her emails, and find out about her backstory. It's organic storytelling. Same thing with Hogwarts Legacy, another fantastically selling game last year. Again, the bartender. I said this before, they have something about making the bartenders trans. Nobody had a problem, well, a few people had a problem with the voice of the character, the trans, saying that they used a man to make a female voice, even though come to find out that the voice actor or voice actress for the character in the game was a British trans actress. So, two games that were exceptionally popular that had trans stories, trans characters in the game sold very well. Didn't have a problem with the sales. It's almost like this little statement here is a little bit of bullshit. Alienating or driving away just make the story organic. Make it make sense. However, the data suggests that game developers are leaving money on the table. Really? Okay. Alphabet players gravitate towards games in which they can see themselves reflected. That's superficial. Meanwhile, 60% of non-Alphabet players say that playing an Alphabet character would make no difference in their decision to buy a game. Hey, you know what? This article actually says something smart. Because, again, gamers don't care one way or another. Give it a shot. But again, the number one thing in all this, this whole video, the whole point of this video, well, make fun of Kotaku, but also go for it. Make the story. Make the game. Have the main character be trans. Be LGBTQ. Do it. Find out what sells. Put your money where your mouth is. If you want to bring in that demographic, go for it. But you better make it good. Because that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter how much representation you put in a game, in a movie, in a TV show, or whatever. If it's not good, none of that representation matters and ever will matter. Get good mechanics when it comes to a video game. Decent story, good mechanics, fun setting, interesting setting. If you do all those things, you might be surprised at just how much money you can make. Maybe it's true. Maybe these developers are leaving money on the table. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are scared to take a chance with what could possibly be an interesting story. But, failing the Alphabet community. I will disagree with that. I don't know how much of the Alphabet community is really looking for that game as a whole. I guess as of the majority. But I mean, let me know what you think in the comments. I think just make a good game. That's my whole point. Make the game good. Make it interesting. Make the characters fun. And it doesn't matter what sort of checkbox you want to put in there. But go ahead and do it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a dislike. Everybody point and laugh at Kotaku because eventually they're just going to be gone. Anyway, bye. Thank you for making it this far.